This is the GMologist, GM extraordinaire, the GMologist.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. I've had a hard time getting down my thoughts together, even getting to the mic to record this episode. Maybe because for the last two episodes I've been having a guest on, and it's sort of hard to compose your own thoughts instead of riffing off someone else. Maybe it's the subject matter. Maybe I find it kind of dry, but it really isn't when I think about it. Maybe it's just what's going on in my life. That could simply be it. But hey, here I am. This is going to be a quarterly review. We've finished the first quarter of 2025, and I'm going to give you a rundown of the games that I've been running. Maybe I'll mention some of the games that I've been playing, and then talk about some of the one-shots that I might want to do as well. But first, I have a call-in. I have a call-in that references my last episode with Arlen Walker, and that episode was 311, The One Ring and Other Middle-earth Role-Playing, well, with Arlen Walker of Live from Pelham's Wasteland. But this message is from M.W. Lewis of the Worlds of M.W. Lewis, and he has a comment and some insight into his life. So we'll start with that, and then we'll jump into the show. Here we go. Take it away, M.W.
Carl, it is M.W. Lewis here of the Worlds of M.W. Lewis. I am out enjoying a little bit of time outdoors. After I already talked to you about this, I have participated in about 15 days of jury duty here in Maryland, and it's not even over yet. It will not be over until maybe the second, maybe the third day of April, probably the second. It looks like we'll be deliberating starting on the 1st, which is kind of funny, April 1st. But anyway, I am out on a walk, enjoying the fresh air, imagining I'm walking through Mirkwood. Not really, but I'm listening to your podcast with Arlen and a really great conversation about Lord of the Rings. I think you guys are talking about version 2. I don't know. You guys were mentioning a whole bunch of editions at the beginning, so I think you're focusing on edition 2. Doesn't really matter to me. I'm enjoying the talk. And Arlen brought up an influence to the Darkening of Mirkwood, William Morris, and a story he mentioned that William Morris wrote, The Wolfing, I think is what he said. I apologize if that's not exactly what he said, because after he said it, I had to go on to my own podcast listing in Spotify and figure out what episode I reviewed a William Morris book just about a year ago. So I hope all your listeners, and Arlen especially, if he likes William Morris, maybe he'd like to go on and listen to that episode of mine. Oops. Oh boy. Wow. I don't know if my workout tracker was audible on my call here, but I'm not walking very fast apparently. But it was episode, now I lost it, hold on. It was just about a year ago. And I'm going to get it for you for a second. I don't mean to have dead air here. Let's see here. I got it. It was 3/16 from April 21st, 2024. Fantasy literature review of The Well at the World's End. And like The Wolfing, sounds like it influenced Tolkien when it came to the Mirkwood portion of his tale. The Well at the World's End had a lot of other influences, as I point out in my review. So any of your listeners who are interested, I highly recommend that episode 3/16 from April of 2024. And now I'm going to shut up and get back to listening to this really fun episode.
Thank you so much for the call, M.W. Lewis. I will put a link to that episode 316 of the Worlds of M.W. Lewis in the show notes. But just to remind people who William Morris was, he was a writer and social activist associated with the British arts and crafts movement. He lived from 1834 to 1896, and he is, I don't know if he is the father of Victorian fantasy, but he is called the writer of A Thousand Faces. There's a cool short article about him that I found online. You could always wiki him as well. But like MW said, he reviewed The Well at the World's End, and importantly, it seems, along with the book, where was it? The book, The House of the Wolfings, seems to have influenced J.R.R. Tolkien, as Arlen mentioned. So I have not read this man's work, and maybe I can get Arlen to come on with me. I'll read one of his books, maybe House of Wolfings, maybe The Well of the World's End, though MW has already done it, so don't need to rehash greatness, right? But there is a Water of the Wondrous Isles, which was a posthumous publication. He did some other types of things like translations as well. He did a translation of Beowulf and the Odyssey, and the Aeneid, actually. So pretty interesting. So he did a translation of the Volsunga saga as well. And interesting. In defense of Guinevere, so he came as a response to Lord Tennyson, Alfred Lord Tennyson's Idylls of the King. So pretty interesting stuff. It'd be cool to maybe read one of his works and comment on it. Arlen, hit me up if you would like to do this. But thanks again, MW, for that call-in. And now we will jump into a quarterly review. All right. Just for your information, I just recorded that at one of our watering holes called the Flying Saucer here in San Antonio. Just the ambient bar noise for all of you. That's kind of another of my pastimes, going to Flying Saucer, which is the equivalent of our Cheers, and having a beer or two with friends. They also have a cool sort of saucer club, whereby if you drink 200 different beers per cycle, you get a $100 to $200 tab, depending on how many times you've gone around the Ring of Honor, as they call it. It's pretty fun. Amy and I both do it. We have a $400 tab when we do our party together. We can't really get through that, so we donate the money, buy beers for kitchen staff and wait staff or whatever. So pretty fun because you can't take it with you. Anyway, let's get on with the review. So I'm going to talk about first the games that I run. These are the regular games that I run, and I'm going to just sort of talk about them sort of in order of the days of the week. These games I don't, and I'll let you know if they're on YouTube, because I record some of the more legacy, I guess, quote unquote legacy ones I don't record because I want to establish to the players and notify them that we're going to record before we start recording. There are some games, there's one game in particular where we started recording way after the game started, but that was cool and that's what the players wanted to do. Let's get on with it. The first game that I run, and this is one of my favorite games, but I will get to what is my favorite game that I'm currently running. This is one of my favorite games. It's such a good game. Right now, I am playing Traveller, and I'm Traveller in the official Traveller universe, set in the Third Imperium, circa 1105. So if you have followed Mark Miller's official Traveller universe, you know that is somewhere between the Fourth and Fifth Frontier War and before the big rebellion that the game edition of Traveller, Mega Traveller, kind of uses when they introduced that setting backdrop. They constantly move the timeline back and forth in Traveller. There's a Milieu Zero from Traveller 4. There's Traveler: The New Era, which is set circa, I want to say 1200, after a long civil war that started circa 1116, 1115. So, and then there's various other time points that you can put your Traveler universe setting. I guess it's just a mega setting, and you like it or you don't. The rules, especially the classic Traveler rules, are such that you could put it in your own setting, right? Or I've even known people to use other systems within this setting. For example, I know Jason Weeb of the Dungeon Plunger is running a Pirates of Drenex campaign using Stars Without Number. Anyway, Traveler. I used the Mongoose Traveler 2nd edition. I run it. We kind of ran and started at the edge of the Spinward Marches, which is, if you see this Imperium of Man, thousands and thousands of worlds, it's at the Spinward edge of the Imperium, where there's another human-centric political unit called the Jordani Consulate, or I guess large, powerful, interstellar polity called the Jordani Consulate. There's other groups. There are nearby in the marches, at least to Coreward, there's also something called the Vargar Extents, where uplifted canine species, the Vargar, have various holdings, but no unified political unit structure. And then there's to the Rimward, and somewhat trailing are the Aslan, which again are a large interstellar species, Sophont species, but they have a sort of confederation. It's called the Aslan Hierate, made up of the most powerful noble families, but they've encroached sort of towards the Imperium. Anyway, that's what we're playing. We started with kind of just planet hopping. I was running more or less a few adventures here and there with smatterings of random encounters wherever they landed. And this has been going on for a little over a year. I really enjoy it. We just picked up another player. We've had a couple players come and go. It wasn't for them, or we didn't gel with them. But we have a good solid group of 3 players, and now I hope 4. And it should prove to be fun. After doing a story arc wherein the player characters became nobles and got involved with this classic adventure action aboard the King Richard from way back in the FASA classic, when FASA made classic Traveler products. I ran that using Mongoose Traveler as a murder mystery. There was a lot of intrigue and politics. They were knighted right after the events of that, attempt to frame a powerful general by the machinations of a pirate leader, Corsair band leader, who they caught. Probably had ties maybe to the Jordani Consulate, because the psionics involved. Anyway, pretty interesting stuff. Then they got to where they were going originally on their mission, one of the universities in the sector. They had actually transported a new species that this person, who their patron was wanting to introduce it at this big conference. They did other things too, like found a new Sophont species, directing or suggesting to the scouts to interdict a particular planet. And now we're going to dive into Mysteries of the Ancients, which is sort of an adventure path that Mongoose Traveler has put together. That's kind of based on the Twilight's Peak stuff from the classic Traveler era days, and it should prove to be very interesting. Again, it's what the player characters have liked and communicated to me what they like, and why I think it continues to be exciting and interesting. Not that every single session is exciting and interesting. Sometimes some are better than others. Honestly, it probably depends the most on my preparation or what I'm ready for when we do those random encounters when they jump into system. But I think it's kind of neat. It still has a sandbox nature. The players have never wanted to sort of fast forward or montage through jumps. They wanted to explore every single planet pretty much, or at least jump into the space area of a particular planet on the Traveler kind of map, and then we see if something happens. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, and then we continue on with the sort of adventure that's happening in the background. So I really enjoy that game. Traveler, again, it's we're playing Traveler using in the official Traveler Traveler universe. We're playing through Mysteries of the Ancients, and we're using the Mongoose version 2 of the Traveler system. Simple 2d6, add your skill and attribute bonuses if you have any, and hit a target number that's usually 8, but it can be higher. I enjoy the game. This is not on the YouTubes, but I do, you can see Traveler regularly, and you can see me play Traveler, and put your comments there. I play on the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel, and we were playing the Borderlands run, and now we've kind of moved into sort of Pirates of Drinax territory with Kevin Madison running the game. So that's pretty cool. He has another Traveler game on his channel as well, which is pretty interesting. So that's Mondays. The opposite Mondays of Traveler, BJ Boyd has started running Coyote and Crow, but I'm not going to really talk about that. I'll just give it a mention. On Tuesday, the games that I run, because I guess I'm focusing on games that I run and just mentioning other games. On Tuesday has been the day for Twilight 2000. We are using the Twilight 2000 4th edition rule set from Free League Publishing, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a pretty quick and easy system. It is conducive to scaling things up as well, so we can do small skirmishes or small squad level battles up to big company level engagements, and we've done that through the course of our almost 5 years of playing this game, which is pretty impressive. So we started at the classic, and I've been using sort of the sandbox style information that Free League has put out with their products, but really I'm running through the sandbox type adventures that were from the beginning of Twilight 2000 first edition back in the 80s, and that is the Battle of Kalitz, and you are on your own. You try to get to the free city of Krakow, or that's the dream where good things can happen. So we run through free city of Krakow, and then we ran Pirates of the Vistula, although we ran Black Madonna kind of before Pirates of the Vistula, and then we ran the Ruins of Warsaw, and that kind of took from in the fiction of the game from late July all the way here now till mid-October. And we're coming to like a natural pause in sort of season 1 of the game, where now the player characters are back in Krakow, have kind of broken up a large political group to the north, and are trying to make alliances with a large political group to the west. And we're deciding what we want to do in that interim, what game we're going to run in that interim. And I don't know if I've written down some ideas about it, and we've talked about it, but I think I've decided to come to a pause in the main campaign, but we will probably pick it up. We definitely will pick it up at some point, I would say. But I guess the question is whether we're going to continue to run Twilight 2000 just in a different place, or run something else. So there are definitely some possibilities, because I will talk about sort of my wish list at the end. So that's Twilight 2000. So just briefly, to continue Twilight 2000, you're thinking of taking a part of the group of the Free Krakow Coalition, which is the company-sized force that the players kind of control, and breaking some of them off, and then trying to run through the Going Home series of scenarios where they try to get from the European theater back to the Civil War-torn former United States, or United States territory at least, and deal with what's going on there, which should be pretty cool. Or can we just jump to doing one of the adventures set in that space, in that territory? The one I would love to run is Red Star Lone Star. Or the other alternative is, since I did run this at BSRCon, I did run a T2K sort of one-shot, and I put it in the Swedish theater using the Free League material, the new Free League material, and I thought that was pretty good. It was kind of a strange Twilight 2000 meets almost Call of Cthulhu, or at least some sort of fantasy horror or fantasy Nordic horror. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see where we go. But that is Tuesdays. On opposite Tuesdays, BJ Boyd has been running Tales of the Valiant, but he might be switching to something else as that loses. Well, I don't know. I don't think it's losing steam, but it's just been hard, especially here at the end of a academic school year with getting together. I think that's really been the issue. So that's on the Tuesdays. Wednesdays, I have two games. The one game that is almost a year old that I've been running is a game of Hyperborea, and I've been calling it Down and Out in Fort Thunder. The characters have gone to I think the highest level character now is 6th level, and most of them are 5th level. There's a few that people who've only played a couple times because it is nominally drop in, drop out. But we have a solid group of regular players, and I guess that's what happens is the regular players keep coming and they keep advancing. Whether or not you enjoy or think that is a benefit or feature of a drop in, drop out, well, that is your opinion and choice, but that's the way we're going to run it. If a new person were to come in, they'd play a first level character, but it wouldn't take long if they survive for them to make it quickly up in level and catch up, kind of. That's happened, right? So, which is very interesting. So the premise is that there is this the Amazons have set up a way station at a Fort Thunder, in one of the archipelagos between their Amazonian islands territories at the fringe of the Hyperborean flat world, and Cromarium, which is a big hustle bustle city that is built on the ruins of other cities, etc., Cyclopean ruins and the like. So we've been really enjoying it. It's a job board. The Amazon say, hey, clear the jungles and all that kind of stuff, and the players go out and search, and they found some very interesting things. I have like a job board and a rumors table that evolves as the players do stuff on the island. I do have an end game in mind since the players are 5th and 6th level. There is a dungeon ruin that I've been hinting at for a long time. The player characters have not gone there yet, but maybe they will get there soon. So we will see. And that has been Hyperborea, Down and Out in Fort Thunder. Opposite that game, we were going to run a Corsairs of Cthulhu, and we've only run one session. We did character creation. We showed this on the YouTube. Twilight 2000 is on the YouTube, by the way. Hyperborea and Traveler have not been. And we did a couple of sessions, a character creation session or two for Corsairs, and then an opening session. But it just scheduling and I would say interest, and even my interest. I know I've been accused of being a serious gamer, and that's probably true. I take my games seriously. Hey, if I want to play a gonzo game, it's going to be noted at the beginning. So if we play something like, DCC or Weird Frontiers, we know there's going to be hints of gonzo. But for Call of Cthulhu, it's not freaking Scooby-Doo. I'm not a big fan of players dropping not inappropriate memes, but inappropriate to the fiction type of memes. I don't mind joking around, and there are many times when we joke in Traveler or Hyperborea, but it sort of fits the mood and what's going on in the game, not some sort of random thing. And I don't know. Maybe I'm interpreting that wrong. There are definitely some players who are very interested in this, and some players that are in others of my games that do seem to be more focused when it comes to sort of a esoteric horror and that mindset that Call of Cthulhu or Cthulhu type of game, Yogg-Sothory, whatever, calls for. People play different ways, and sometimes you like it and gel with it, and sometimes you don't. So I don't know what's going to happen with Corsairs, truth be told. It's because of the scheduling breaks and the loss of momentum and the loss of interest. From my point of view, it might die a quiet death. And we'll put something else in that Wednesday, maybe another Hyperborea game, maybe more directed. I really, really like the new offerings, and you can look out in my YouTube channel where I did an unboxing of the new 3 sets of modules that have come out from Northwind Games for Hyperborea. I'd love to run one or a few of those. I have I've had a few Hyperborean stop and starts, but I think this Hyperborea campaign, I think we'll get to the level 12. That's the level cap in the third edition of the rulebook. So we'll see if we get there. We're, like I said, halfway done. Maybe another year of gaming. We'll see where they go. Or maybe they'll get to the end game before they get to that level, because the end game to me will be clearing out that dungeon, securing, which ultimately will secure the island for the Amazons, and then we move on to something else, or that's it. Start a new campaign with the players, lordlings in their own right, on the island of the Amazons and around Fort Thunder. Maybe it's just going to be called Fort Thunder Island or Thunder Island or something. Anyway, that is Hyperborea. Really enjoying that game. So I think I am going to pause here because I need to get a drink. I've been talking for a little bit, about 20 or so minutes straight. So I'll be right back, but it'll seem like nothing to you. So what day of the week were we at? Thursday. Thursday is the day that I meet with my home group. So I play live. And this is not recorded. I've been wanting to, if we had a proper studio, would be cool to do. And some of those players are on board, but it's a democracy, in my opinion. Everyone, or a security council, UN style, in my opinion, where everyone has a veto power. So we don't record. They've come on here and there on the podcast and talked about the games. And the game that kind of started this regular home group in a way is a game of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition by Cubicle 7, and we've been playing through The Enemy Within. We've played a former campaign. We played Terror and Talabheim, and we've also done fun adventures like Rough Night is at Three Feathers and other adventures here and there. In that compilation, I've even run like a few one-shots from the Ubersreich starter set and some Ubersreich adventures for the 4th edition, and even jump back to some earlier edition stuff. Well, that's Terror of Talabheim is a 3rd edition product. In any case, we've been running the new Enemy Within. I've gotten invested in the deluxe form. Is that right? The deluxe form of that series, where I get the in a sort of slipcase. Each of the 5 books comes with the book of the adventure, as well as a companion book, which is chock full of tons of cool information. We've been playing for nearly 4 years, and we're almost finished. We're on the last book, which is Empire in Ruins, and it's a really fantastic game. So many memorable events and happenings. We laugh about them. We reminisce about them. We cry about them. Like, that was really cool. I remember when that happened. And we're coming towards the end, so I'm very excited about that. It's a really fantastic game, like I just said, and I really enjoyed this version of the game. I also play in a game run by Kevin Madison on Dungeon Musings. I do enjoy this game. It would be fun to use this game system in another world. I know a friend of mine, one of the home group, has done it for Song of Ice and Fire, and Kevin just did that recently too. So that's pretty cool. And I really would not mind running sort of Zweihander, which is based more on the 2nd edition of the game, but very similar. That sort of D percentile type of roll, success levels, flip to succeed, fortune and fate, and that kind of thing. So, and it's playing in the old world, so the Games Workshop old world, the Empire of Man, based sort of on the Holy Roman Empire historically, but with elves and dwarves and orcs and that sort of other fantasy tropes. But if you play the tabletop Warhammer Fantasy Battle, that's the same world. So we really have enjoyed it, and we're almost done, which is crazy. The characters are very powerful. When they started, it's like, oh, how much is that sword again? And now it's like, a gun? Psh, I could buy a 2 or 3, or maybe even the whole factory. They're pretty powerful. They're in their I don't even know what career number they're in, but they're more or less fourth tier in their original career, or maybe even first or second in a new career. And they mix and match, and they've been ennobled. They're pretty powerful. They rub elbows, and they just met the Emperor Karl Franz, so which is pretty cool. So they're meeting sort of characters in the world, as it were, and have a power to influence the future of the Empire, which is very neat. So yeah, it's been a really good campaign, and I enjoy it. And I guess now you got to think, what are we going to do next? And I think we're going to do. We've been bandying about sort of Imperium Maledictum, although I would like to run that, spoiler, on my channel, maybe the starter set as well at some point. Maybe I'll run more than one Imperium Maledictum campaign. Kind of cool, huh? So one for my online gaming buddies and one for the home group. So we'll see how that goes. Or we could run another Warhammer Fantasy campaign, or use Warhammer Fantasy for Song of Ice and Fire, or Zweihander or Zweihander adjacent, like Flames of Freedom. I really like that system, and I would love to run another game using that system. So opposite Warhammer Fantasy, we've been running a Pathfinder 2 game. And Pathfinder 2 games have been sort of, again, stop and start for me. We tried to run Abomination Vaults, it kind of died using Fantasy Grounds. I was trying to run Kingmaker, and I invested a lot in both the Kingmaker 2nd edition starter set and the VTTs for it, and that kind of died. Usually, I've noticed that Pathfinder Adventure Pass, and this has been reiterated on my podcast a few times, kind of die at book 2 or 3. And right now, we're playing Bloodlords, which is the last 6-part Paizo Pathfinder Adventure Path using the Pathfinder 2 rule set. And we're on book 3. We're almost halfway done with book 3. And I think if we make it through book 3, the rest will follow. But I don't know what it is. And the characters are like 8th, 9th level, which is great, because that's higher than any level I've gotten to in a long time in a Paizo Adventure Path. I ran the Kingmaker 1st edition, and they got to really the 6th book, and near TPK kind of, and people moving away kind of killed it. But yeah, I like Pathfinder. I like Golarion. I like the Paizo company and the world. And I don't know why Pathfinder 2 has been so hit and miss. It could be it's just very fiddly. I really have nostalgia for 3.5 Pathfinder 1 type of days and systems, and I've played on and off here and there Pathfinder 1, and I wouldn't mind getting back to it. I have some great ideas for a 3.5 or Pathfinder 1 type of system, and I don't know what it's called, Legacy subscriber. I don't know. I subscribed to Rise of the Rune Lords way back, and I've been a subscriber ever since. So yeah, I honestly, the first time in a long time, I put my Paizo subscription on hold. So we'll see. I have a lot of adventures, a lot of games to run in Pathfinder 2, and I wouldn't mind running a Pathfinder 2 game, maybe trying to pick up in that Corsair spot, since that's not doing so well, but probably like a short one, like a 3-parter with dedicated players instead of something much longer. I think that's the issue, is that they're so long. I have to give a shout out here to Joe Richter and Hindsightless. Go listen to his podcast, Hindsightless, where he talks about the Wrath of the Righteous adventure path, which is a mythic level Pathfinder 1 adventure path that I've tried and failed to run. And he is on book 6, I believe, which is amazing. That's the last book. So that's great for him. I'm following that progress, because that's a tough task. For Pathfinder adventure paths, I have not finished one, really. The adventure paths that I finished have been for Warhammer Fantasy, and I did finish a Starfinder campaign, the Dead Suns campaign, which is kind of like Space Finder in a way, Space Pathfinder. But yeah, which is interesting, right? Yeah, I'd like to really try to get one of these older Pathfinder ones, and I've probably tried, especially way back when we were playing Pathfinder 1, I tried a lot of them. Some were hit and miss, some lasted longer than others. Anyway, It's not for me lack of how do I say it? Yeah, I mean, to me, it's an accomplishment to finish it. But just circumstances happen because it takes so long that there are people that move away or can't make that or lose interest, or you get to a certain power level and that it doesn't jive with some people, um, or they get tired of the game or tired of the other people in the game. I don't know. Anyway, that's Pathfinder 2. We're like I said, halfway through book 3 of the Bloodlords, so it's called the Field of Maidens, which is interesting. So it's a cool premise to it. So there's this country called Geb that is ruled by a ghost king. It's a country of undead, so they're like vampires, ghouls, etc. Zombies, work the farms, mindless and sometimes not mindless. And they're a living population, of course, and it's not like you can willy-nilly go and kill the living population. That's not what the king has decreed. But the characters are up-and-coming factors for a Bloodlord patron, and could very well become Bloodlords in their own right, which I think is a neat end game, right? So I hope we get to it. I really do hope we get through this book. I kind of read through it recently again, and it seems like the first half of it kind of drags, but the last part of it gets a lot better, right? And one of the reasons I think this is pretty interesting, is the sort of the idea of suddenly the Mary Sue NPC showing up, or someone saying you got to do this. And actually, when we had that initial encounter, so here's what happens in Bloodlords. This, I think, could have really destroyed the campaign, and I think because of the response of some of the players, just it's their nature, right? It's the nature of a player who's like, I want emergent play. I don't want to be put on the rails, right? I don't want to be put on the railroad. Yeah, that type of thing. There's another name for it, and it escapes me right now. But anyway, this dude who comes from the king's council, more or less, one of the king's counselors. Maybe he's on the small council or privy council, whatever the equivalent is in Geb. And he's like, you guys got to do this, because if not, the king gets mad. And initially the player's like, what? Who are you? I don't care. And that's not a good thing in game design, right? And I think the cool thing, this is a sort of a spoiler, but hey, you're probably not going to play. Most of you aren't going to play Bloodlords in any case. But halfway through the third book, he gets called away, and the adventure gets better. So it really does. It really gives the players, there's that word, more agency. And that's what players like, because they like agency. And I think just that introduction was kind of like, hey, man, we've been doing our own thing here in our little area of Geb for a little bit, and we've done some cool things and found some cool things out, and yay us. And now you want to tell us what to do? I don't think so. So, yeah, it is kind of jarring, I think, to the players, and but we're trying to run it the way it goes, and I know in the future I'm going to really look better at those types of situations and knowing my players really not take away their agency, because even in like getting back to Warhammer Fantasy, right? Players have a lot of agency, and they're doing what they're doing, and they can track how they're acting based on how they felt their character has developed, despite the actions of the event during the adventures, or the actions of the NPCs throughout the adventures. They still have agency, and they can do whatever they can really do whatever they want, and it's obligation based on what they've decided their characters' goals and obligations are, where their loyalties lie, and that's how they act, or how they go about acting. And it definitely has led to some conflict, inter-character conflict, not quite PvP, but the characters have different philosophies on the way things get done and how they do them and who they do them for. but it's been really cool, and I think more of that in these adventure paths would probably go a long way. So I definitely need to be, and for my part, I need to scrutinize more the way these things are written and what will happen. Right, you don't want to lead by the nose. You want players to be their own factors, act for their patron if they have one accordingly, because if that's what they want to do, not like with a threat of punishment behind it. The players won't do it. You got to give them their agency. Anyway, we'll go on to the next games. After that was Thursday. Wow. So Fridays, I started, and I hope this kind of goes a long way. I started Masks of Nyarlathotep, but with a few twists. First, I'm not running it in the 1920s. I'm running it in basically during the Roman Empire, circa 2nd century. I kind of looked and did some research and found out when like an eclipse was going to take place at the right time in the time frame of the adventure, and in that area, that the same area where it does in the 1920s, right, according to the adventure, and I found it, and that puts me where we are during the rule of Hadrian, circa 134 CE. I think it's 8. For those of you Roman scholars who appreciate that, that is 887 Ab Urbi Condita, AUC. So from the year of the founding of Rome. So yeah, and I'm not using Cthulhu Invictus 7th edition Call of Cthulhu for Roman times. I am using Cohorts Cthulhu, which is Modiphius 2D20 version of their Octune Cthulhu game. So 2D20 kind of pulpy system. I think it has so far worked a lot better to me than the pulp feel in a Call of Cthulhu 7th edition game. And I hope it goes the distance. It's fun changing the names, but people know who Jackson Elias is, who the other factors are, the other NPCs are, and it's been really cool. We have so in the Mask of Nyarlathotep, there's a prologue now in the new version, and it starts in Peru, but I've moved that to Germania, and I guess this is a little bit of a spoiler. Maybe my players listen. Oh well, but so. Peru is I made it Germania. They started in Vindobona, so Vienna, and travel into the Carpathians, which are the Monte Samitici, in the Latin. Well, during that time, that's what they were called. So they're on the Danubius River and everything, right? So pretty cool. We were in the middle of that adventure. I think we have we probably will have one more session of that adventure before we either. I might run a couple of Cohorts Cthulhu adventures in Germania to have the players get cohesion, maybe introduce some other NPCs at some point. I have a cool adventure I ran for BSRCon that was called The Last Eagle that I might throw out the players because I think it could work pretty well for them, and it could use it to introduce some NPCs from Masks down the road, which would be pretty neat to do, right? So I have a good buy-in for these players, and I hope they take it the distance. But so the first chapter in Master of Nyarlathotep takes place in America, so I've changed that to what is obvious to Rome. I'll change that to Rome, and the Italian peninsula, but it basically takes place in New York in Masks, so it'll take place in Rome for me. And then England can stay England, that's Britannia, and Egypt can stay Egypt. Kenya can stay Kenya, and the other two places, Australia and China, I think I will keep those a surprise for my players because there's one that I'm not quite sure, and there's one that I think will really work. So that's kind of what's going on there with Masks, which I'm excited about, and pretty cool stuff. I'm going to pause again as I get to my weekend games. That was my Friday game. The opposite Fridays are kind of open. And I'll get to that in sort of the one-shots that I've done sort of at the end to round out this podcast. But let me pause again with another rocket flyby and I'll get to Saturday and Sunday. And I just realized that I could have done something pretty cool, and maybe I'll do it for specifically the YouTube channel, um, which is more visual media anyway. But this is just talking to you guys. But I could have had a stack of the books that I run and showed them, the covers at least, to the people on the YouTube, which I may do here in a little bit, or maybe not. We'll see how much time I have this weekend. I got other stuff going on. So anyway, on to my Saturday game. Saturday, it also flip flops with games that I play on the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel with Kevin Madison. There, it is usually Warhammer Fantasy, like I mentioned, and then his charity games, and then I mentioned the Traveler game on the Sunday. But I do run my own game on Saturday mornings opposite my Warhammer Fantasy game that I play in, and that is the One Ring. And this, I think, is a game that I've been enjoying the most. This is One Ring, the second edition of the One Ring game by Free League. Free League acquired the rights to it, and I really enjoy this game. We've been running kind of sandbox style, but I have some plans in mind. Although, right, it's a mix. I have like, here's a rumor that happens. This is where I want to put the location, and let's see how we get there and what happens along the way. And that to me has been a fun sort of hex crawl sandbox style, exploring the default area of the One Ring setting, second edition, which is Eriador, sort of the northwestern part of Middle Earth. And yeah, I really like it. I like the way the game system runs. I like how it gets that feel, and you can listen to the previous podcast 311 when Arlen and I talk at length about this. But to me, it captures the feel, that sort of very tense, almost not quite end of times, but maybe, I don't know, on the decline type of feel between the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, between those books. So just set like your third age 2965, right? So like smack dab in the middle, about 30 years after, 30 years prior or so, to the events of the Lord of the Rings. So it's a solid game. I really enjoy it. I have two dedicated players that each play two characters. So we wanted to, because there's like some subsystems that we really needed to round out some of the skills for the subsystems, specifically journeys. And yeah, it was good to have 4 players, but it really works, and they each have their own voice, despite the fact that the 4 player heroes are being played by 2 characters. It's been really good. Really thankful to my players. Like I said, we're playing Ruins of Eriador, and maybe Tales of the Lost Lands. I have some adventure set in there, but you know, it depends how the player characters react to the clues and rumors that they find and hear, and depends where they go, right? To me, like if they go back to this location, oh, this triggers what I'm going to run here. If they go to this location, well, let's see if there's a site for that. If not, I look in some of my MERPS material, or I look online and see what that's about. Just kind of like what I do with Traveler anyway. I'll use one of the Traveler wiki so I can see it, and then if I need more detail, it tells me what book it's in. So similarly, you can look up One Ring, Lord of the Rings wiki, or One Ring wiki, and oh, what is this? What's going on in this town or this area of Eriador or Middle Earth, right? So, which is pretty handy and pretty cool. So I really enjoy it. Again, I think it captures a feel, and I hope the players are liking it as much as I am liking running it. So finally, the last regular game that I run is a new game that I just kind of started, and I am running AD&D First Edition, and we are running through the Against the Slave Lords series, starting with Skip Williams' A0. which was in the sort of compilation that they put out for the anniversary several years back, I'll say circa 3.5 era, but maybe it was at the beginning of 5th edition. I don't know. Anyway, or yeah, maybe it was even at the end of 4th edition. In any case, I'm running D0 Danger at Darkshelf Quarry, since it's for levels 1 to 3, and then jump into the rest, the Sewers 1, the Stockade, the Airy, and maybe the last one. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So I know people have played this before. I don't think any of my group has played it, but I know they know about it. But I'm really excited about it, and it's done really well. I'm really enjoying the group of players and how they think through things, and just the nature of AD&D First Edition, and realizing that that and Hyperborea are probably the most like spot decisions, and I got to make rulings instead of using rules per se if it's not covered. But I'm really enjoying AD&D First Edition. I would like to run more either BX or OSE, something like that, or maybe more AD&D. I'm planning on maybe taking a crack again at AD&D Second Edition at some point. So yeah, I think that has been a really good game that it just started. I think we're 4 sessions in, and I think our 5th session is this weekend. So we'll see how that goes. I'm pretty excited about. So, all right. So what about a shift pause here? What about games that I've run? So I guess a first quarter irregular games. So games that I've run maybe 1 or 2 sessions or 1 adventure just to test them out. Do they have viability? Are we going to see some more, right? So I guess I call these the first quarter irregular games. And I guess just for FYI, Masks, One Ring, and AD&D 1E are on the YouTube channel. So the actual plays that are recorded. I haven't jumped to live streaming yet, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Maybe the best time to do it would be on the Tuesday when we switch to something else besides our regular free Krakow Coalition game. So whether it's Twilight 2000 or something else to do live streaming. Anyway, so the first quarter irregular games, I was looking back at the YouTube to see what I played and checking back on the schedule for the home group. So another game. So I've run a game of Mothership, which I really enjoyed. We ran a Mothership back in November, ran the first part of the another bug hunt, like with the home group, and Amy joined in with that. And then Mothership I ran for a couple players on the channel. It's on the YouTube, and I thought the first one did well. The second one, I don't know. I mean, there's maybe other things were coming out at the time. It was a really good adventure. I really enjoyed it. And then I'd like to get back to Mothership. I really like that game also. Then there's also we've run kind of a pulp Call of Cthulhu circa 1930s game with Amy, sort of a dual game, but other people joined in. We ran Secrets of Marseille, and then and we ran a Christmas adventure for Pulp 30. So we finished the Secrets of Marseille early in the quarter. I don't know. I think there's just a lot of Cthulhu out there. We compete against voice actors, so are these considerations being made for what gets hits on the YouTube channel? Maybe, but it's also interest of my players and my personal interest, right? I do have sometimes GM ADHD, and I'm serious about that. I'm not trying to make light of it. My attention span jumps from game to game, and it's always been that way. And I like to run a whole lot of games that you can hear and tell. And also played a D&D 5e. I ran a game of Iron Kingdom in the Iron Kingdom's world, which is the Privateer Press world. Goes back to the Witchfire trilogy back at the beginning of 3.0. And I think it's a really great world. And if I ran a D&D 5e campaign, I would run it in the Iron Kingdoms. I have a lot of material for that. Although my home group would rather, it seems, most of them would rather run the Privateer Press proprietary system instead of the 5e version. But, whatever. At the EsserCon, I ran Mouse Ritter, Like I mentioned, I ran the Twilight 2000. I really did enjoy Mouse Ritter. It's uses Into the Odd rule system. It's a cute game. You play little mice and other little critters, and I would love to do that. I kind of did a couple preludes, both with Amy and then at BSRCon of Mouse Ritter to the Tomb of a Thousand Doors. And when I get that, maybe I'll full on write it, or play that, or try to promote that. So Cohors we've run also. I ran that at BSRCon, and we're running it now with masks. I ran a game of Alternity 1999, which was really neat. I really enjoyed that. We ran the Dark Matter. Used Alternity 1999 rules with the Dark Matter setting. And they have a Gamma World setting that I need to explore and check out. And that was inspired by Jay Webster of Roleplay Rescue, because he ran it for his guys and was like, oh man, this is a fun game. I want to run it. And it was a great little adventure, intro adventure that I ran at BSRCon. And then I've been working and I've been running play testing, so this white box World War II type of scenario, which I'm going to kind of a mashup of Operation White Box and Godlike. It's an adventure that I thought up. It's called Operation Jersey Devil, and I'm writing that up for my mashup zine through the Anchorite Publication Association, APA. I'll probably put a advertisement for that at the end of this podcast. And yeah, it's called Mashup, and that's the first one. And then I have one that I'm thinking about, and these I'm also running at North Texas RPG Con, so I got to get on it. That's the second week of June. So Song of Roland, which is a Pendragon Dark Tower, Stephen King's Dark Tower amalgamation. Shadow of the Wizard, which is inspired by Stargazer by Rainbow, sung when Ronnie James Dio was the lead singer. And I'm gonna use Hyperborea, but I could also use Tales of Argosa, maybe even set it in Den's world from Heavy Metal, which would totally work. And then finally I have Shrine of the Mountain Gods, which is a Traveler Warhammer 40k mash. That's all I'm going to say about that, because it could be a spoiler. Anyway, that's what I'm running later, and I'll talk about those, I'm sure, in my game status quarterly review for halfway through the year. But the other games I think I've been wanting to run. Oh, I forgot to mention, I just ran a Marvel game. That's another one. I just ran a Marvel game, Bucky and Black Widow, sort of Marvel top secret, Avengers top secret, and that I'll probably run that adventure through its course. And I know Arlen was going to jump and run something like what is that game? I can't believe I don't remember the name of that game that he's going to run. On something, Unhinged, Unleashed, Outgunned. No, Outgunned. So he's going to run like Outgunned for us, I think, which I'd like to see get to the table. And then finally, like I mentioned, Imperium Maledictum. Those are the kind of maybe the bucket list games that I'd like to run this quarter, as long as the other many things that I've mentioned. Wow. All right, this is an hour. I'm out of here. Thanks so much for listening. This has been the Geomologist Presents. Hey, shoot me a line. Maybe there's something you think or I've run in the past, or you've heard that I want to run that would be cool to run. Or I could, hit me up. Maybe we could play it or run it. Something like that. I was actually thinking the other day even of like trying to bring back a Savage Rifts game that happened last year that I'd like to revisit. I really enjoy the Rifts verse, and I like Savage Worlds a lot. Anyway, yeah. You can reach me. Send me a line, geomologist@gmail.com. I have a SpeakPipe account linked to the show, and you can always DM me through various Discords and record a message or type me out a message, and I'll read it or play it here like I did with MWs. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening. I'll have the advertisement for the APA and the outro music provided by a mysterious benefactor. In any case, thank you so much for listening. Good night and good rolling.
You like old school games, so why not talk about them in an old school way with the Anchorite APA? An APA is an amateur press association. Every 6 weeks, you send in a zine filled with whatever inspires you. Play reports, rules ideas, reviews, anything. We compile it with everyone else's into one awesome collection, and you get it delivered straight to you. Physical mail in the US, PDF elsewhere. It's more than a publication. It's a community. Be part of a tradition that's tangible, creative, and fun. Visit sites.google.com/view/Anchorite. The Anchorite APA. Your next great adventure starts here.